Haters too. Good afternoon.
Well, happy Canada Day, Kevin.
Thanks.
Maybe let's just start with your day's business on a blow-by-blow basis, if you would, please.
So yeah, I think it was a good day. It was obviously it's been a whirlwind period of time here. Obviously, trying to jam in lots of different things coming from the draft. I think that it was an exciting time for our organization with some of the picks that that we got. Have I think a couple of guys that are like obviously our first round pick are extremely excited with him, and the opportunity that's for him and our organization is going to be great. I think some of the other picks have some really good potential, and we're excited for that part of it. Obviously, then hop on a plane and try to beat the weather and get back to Winnipeg here for a short turnaround for free agency. And it's been a busy period of time here, and I thought today went well for us. We've been in constant contact with Vladdy's camp over the course of the summer, and wanted to make sure that was something that we stayed close on, and hope that we could do. We obviously made the trade that acquired some additional forwards within the lineup, so we kind of had to take a step back and adjust and look as to how things would fit. But ultimately, when we took a good hard look at it today, we said, let's get at this, and Vladdy was awesome, and he's excited, I think, to be back. Obviously, going into the situation here, we were looking for adding some depth to the goaltending situation, and I think we were able to add two obviously great goaltenders to the organization here, and one is very familiar with us. LB is someone that when we signed him several years ago, I think a lot of people didn't know much about him, and I thought Wade Flaherty did a great job of helping him grow, and he went on to another situation there for a period of time, and again, when the opportunity to come back to work with Hellebuck, I think was something that appealed to LB as well, and I think they'll be a good tandem. Obviously LB's grown in the goaltending department as well, and he's a different goaltender than he was when he was here the first time, which is going to benefit our organization. Jeffrey Veal is someone that we've talked to San Jose several times about before in the past. Didn't work out when he was on waivers at different points in time, but he brings an element of hard-nosed grit, sandpaper, good size, that energy. I think that you want on the bottom side of your lineup.
Kevin, just one more for me, and that is with the trade that you were able to make with Los Angeles, with especially the additions of Nemesnikov and Brossoit today. You want to be better, but is this maybe also aimed at trying to change the narrative around Connor Hellebuck and Mark Scheifele with the Winnipeg Jets organization?
I guess the narrative is not one that is necessarily always the truth and the reality of things. I think that again, we're excited. I think I said in my media at the draft, like both Scheif and Helly are big parts of our organization. We got lots of good pieces here. I think the addition of the keeping of Vladdy, the addition of the three forwards, I think it really gives us a group of forwards that we really haven't had at any point in time, in this organization from top to bottom. That group of 12, 13, 14 forwards there, there's lots of options. There's lots of different ways to put them together. There's lots of different things that I think the coaching staff, when we've had our meetings and talked about, that excites them. It's a lineup of guys that there's a few guys on the younger side that have something to prove. And I think over the period of time, we've always seen that, like, the teams that start at a certain point, in September and October, it's how you grow, throughout that period of time with young players, and how they become, more entrenched and grow and blossom in their evolution of their games, that's how you become a better team. And so we're excited about that. And obviously we've got some depth on the back end there right now. We'll have to play, that'll have to sort itself out as we go here. And I think that, in net, again, we've got a good, strong tandem there. So I'm excited about this group.
Hi, Kevin. Given what you just said about the number of players now, would you more or less say that you're probably done in terms of free agency then shopping?
There might be a couple of things that we're, still kicking around. There was some intriguing, things that we've, talked about, and we'll see how some things come together. But, from a cap perspective, like once, obviously we've got some RFA situations to deal with, and, they all have potential arb, but, you're hoping to get to those points and come to conclusions and agreements, before it gets to that, and they should. So you got, those things to take care of. And once you go through all that, we're going to be pretty tight at the cap, that's a reality. But that's what, we've always committed to. And, so we'll see. But there might be some other depth things that we're talking about doing, or some other maybe tweaks around the side.
As you said, there's been lots of talk about Mark Scheifele, Connor Hellebuck. So maybe just to ask you directly, what's your take on the current narrative with them? That there was this belief either you had to get them signed to a long-term extension or move them this summer, that going into the final year of their contract would not necessarily be an option. Is it an option and something you're comfortable with?
Yeah, it's something I'm definitely comfortable with. We've talked about a lot of different things. I think that you look at the moves that we made. Obviously, the PLD trade was something that worked exactly how we had hoped it might, and you never know going into something like that if it can. You addressed some of your needs right now. We get a good pick in next year's draft. Obviously, I do want to say that I'd like to extend my most heartfelt thank you to Blake Wheeler and his family for all the years that that he put into this organization, what the family has put into the community, and the player that he was. He bet on us several times, and unfortunately we got close and just not close enough. But he was a tremendous part of that, and in some ways it was good for both of us just to be able to to part ways, and where both sides are on an amicable speaking good type of relationship, and I'm happy that he found a good situation for himself today, but real thankful for all the things that he's done for our organization. But so that being said, like we've changed quite a bit of different aspects and avenues, of our organization. So I'm real comfortable with where we're at right now. And the summer's long, who knows what happens or anything like that. But it's certainly something that I'm excited about with this group as it sits in front of me.
And that was going to be my final question, just to ask: is the door closed on an extension for either of those players in your eyes?
I don't think they are. I don't think the door is closed for an extension. I think there's still, opportunities for extension on both. And, again, I think there has been a little bit of a kind of a taken out of context narrative in Mark Scheifele's situation. When I met with his representatives at the Combine, he was open to anything. That was his, mantra from the beginning. And I told him, I said, look, you're going to probably see your name out there. It's just simply that time of the year. And but that it didn't mean one thing or another when it comes to that. Well, one thing about when a guy who has signed one extension or signed something within the organization and gets him to a point of unrestricted free agency, it's kind of you want them, when they make that next choice, to be sure that they're going to do it, because that next choice might take them to the end of their their contract and stuff like that. And we went through it with Blake Wheeler when we gave him this last extension, and we talked about all the different things, and we even talked about that this might be a situation that happened in the end. And again, these players played hard for us and have played hard and are going to continue to play hard for us moving forward.
Do you see either of those two signing like shorter deals, just the way that the things are going right now?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. The one thing that did come up, not necessarily with them, but just as a whole, the industry is in a weird place right now, because the cap has gone up by $1 million as the system has allowed it to, which is not a lot when it comes to the type of contracts that you have to give to different players coming out of entry level and the such and the different comparables that are out there. So there are some players that have said, I'll take a short and go on, but I can't tell you what anybody's thinking or anybody's potentially doing right now. But hopefully, we're standing here on July 1st. That's the first time I think we've done that in a while, getting back to that normal, routine and cadence. And hopefully the league, from an economic standpoint and a CBA standpoint and a cap standpoint, can get back to, the normal cadence that we've all become used to when we're signing, guys to longer term deals.
You still have the defensive log jam. Is that something that you're looking to address this summer to try and get?
So we've had conversations. It's we've talked about a lot of different scenarios, talked to a lot of different teams. Again, I think it's the dust will settle here, and we'll see what happens. Whether the interest level in some of the guys that we've talked to different teams about increases, decreases, remains the same. That's a good situation to be in.
Just one on Cole Perfetti, because you talked about him at the draft, and the one thing I took about it is it almost seems like they're trying to say this the right way. Is there a more of an onus now to play some of the younger guys that you have potentially even in the positions that you drafted them in, because potentially that's maybe where they would like to try and see if they can play, and that might be good for the organization long term.
Well, I think as an organization, we owe it to ourselves and to try those kind of things. In a case like Cole, the unfortunate side for him is he got injured in two separate times where there was great opportunity in front of him, because there was massive injuries in other players, Scheifele a couple of times, and but Cole's made a lot of good strides. I've talked to his reps. I talked to our strength and conditioning coach. He changed his workout regime that he has gone through in the past to a different type one, and by all accounts he's really feeling the benefits of something like that. And I think it's only natural for every young player is when there's an opportunity in front of you, you still have to seize it. Like the onus is on the player, and as an organization, you look to try to see how we can maximize, where things are at, and obviously there's an opportunity there. Gabe's played center as well. Again, is his best position center, his best position wing? We'll wait and see. There's that stuff that the coaches, I think, again, are excited about. They can coach. They can, make up lines. They can change lines. That's what coaches do.
Kevin, have you had a similar conversation with Hellebuyck as you did with Scheifele?
Well, we've had conversations along the way, and there's been a lot of different dialogue. Again, I know in talking today, Hellebuyck is fully aware of us, signing LB, and he was, pretty excited about it, and because, there's been, a good relationship, I think, between Helly and LB, all the time. What happens in the future, I guess best thing I'm going to say is if everybody thinks something is set in stone, sometimes maybe when a little bit of water gets in there's a little bit of a crack and something might open.
Since we're past July 1st and both those players, Scheifele and Hellebuyck, are eligible for extensions, is it on the table to open discussions with them right now about possible extensions?
We'll see. We'll let the dust settle, I think, and obviously everyone can take a deep breath over a period of time. But if both sides are looking at something, we'll take a look at it. There's nothing sitting here on the table today where we're saying, hey, we're in negotiations or anything like that. Far from it. But I think it's something that again, we'll see how everything unfolds.
Are teams calling on either or both players? Is that on the table as well?
Well, that's what I guess the craziness of the last couple of weeks has been, and again, the volume of calls that happen, not only just with me but with the other teams, and then the silence that you get, maybe I think it's sometimes a function of just the economics and everything like that, but in this game here, the phone always rings. What does that mean? Sometimes, it means something. Sometimes it just means, you're catching up with an old colleague.
Like you'd said, it looked like a very amicable ending with between the organization and
Yeah.
Blake. What's the reasoning from the organization side of why you took that action?
Well, we had conversations, with Blake, and I think that, I can't speak for him, and nor do I want to try to, but, I think that, he feels and we feel that it's a good opportunity for him, to maybe take a run at something different, be in a different organization, take on a different role. Obviously, he represented this team with great class and dignity, and was captain for 6 years, and obviously we made some choices last year to do some different changes on the leadership side of it, and Blake was awesome. He had a tremendous year with respect to production and everything, and I just think that it's the right time for both sides to have come to that conclusion, and again, I think it couldn't have worked out better for each side.
Maybe behind the scenes, these are your words, but I don't think I've heard you publicly say the word retooling, but it keeps exactly. So I'm interested though if that is, if there's truth to that in this organization and what they've been doing with the Pierre-Luc Dubois deal, maybe even what's happened with Blake, is there an idea that as this organization changes, evolves, as the roster does?
I think that's the word right there, evolves. I think that's really what it's all about. Like if you look at our organization, we have to evolve. We have to make some changes. We didn't get to where we wanted to go, but that doesn't diminish, the good things that happened along the way and the good people that were part of it. And, again, we got to a certain point. We kept on pushing to try to, see if we can continue to do it with, the group that we had and everything like that. Now we've got an opportunity with that trade, to have like some really good young players come in that have room to grow. But we added a great player in Alex Iafallo too, where, he's a culture guy, he's a character guy, he plays hard. First words out of his mouth when I talked to him, he says, I'm coming to Winnipeg to win a cup. And, that was echoed not only, it was funny because when I talked to some of the other guys that spoke with him, and ironically, when the trade was made, I was actually in a meeting. I wasn't even, the guy on the, on the other end, finishing up the deal because we were in a meeting. And when I went back and talked to Larry about it, he said, yeah, I'm coming here to win the cup. And he said the same thing to me, so, we've got some guys that are, excited about the opportunities. They're going to play different roles here. And for a player, that's sometimes a real exciting thing.
The thing about that trade is it builds on the organizational depth, and you touched on that earlier on. I'm interested. You'd said phones are ringing. I'm not saying that you're trying to move anyone or not, but if you get into a situation where people start making calls about Mark Scheifele and Connor Hellebuck, does making the deal the way you did for Pierre-Luc open up the idea that you could maybe go in different directions, that you wouldn't need right now players, and that if people were able to wow you with a package of futures, that you would be more open to that than maybe before you made that deal?
It's hard to say because, the interesting thing happened along the way with that last trade deadline is there were so many first round picks that were moved. A lot of teams that maybe are interested in things don't have that kind of currency, or didn't have that kind of currency. And, so again, it's easy to say, well, do this, do that when you're an organization. And there's lots of times where my guys tell me, hey, let's go get this guy, let's go get that guy. And I'm like, I don't have that pick. I don't have this. I don't have this in my organization right now. I'd love to, but I can't. But that being said, my focus is on putting a good hockey team on the ice next year. Obviously you're always looking towards the future. I think we did that with getting a solid second round pick, in the PLD trade. I'm looking to the future by the fact that we got a Velarde and a Kupari that are young players that are, part of this organization for the foreseeable future. We've got young defensemen, as well. So the future is growing. There's lots of good pieces. We've got guys like Lambert and Lucius and Chibrikov that are turning pro this year. Like, that's exciting. We drafted, Rutgers had made great strides in his first year in college. That's exciting. I think, again, getting Colby Barlow, that's the type of Winnipeg Jet player. Getting, Zach Naring, like, those are guys that are embracing, I think what, we want here moving forward and exciting. I think people should come out to the development camp this week. There's, one of the things that I think COVID took from us for, the last little while is we haven't been able to have one of these, and I'm really excited, to see the guys skate, to come together. Solomonsson's going to be coming in from Sweden, haven't had a chance to, to come here. Last year he broke his leg before going to the World Junior. Wagner, DiVincentis, all those players are, going to be here for the first time. So we're really excited about, seeing the future of the Jets, on display.
Pardon me, the first of these will probably
Hey,
be...
welcome. You made it on time.
How you doing? You like sassing me at these things, eh? So the first will be a bit of repetition on account of that.
Okay.
It sounds as
You got
though,
me on that.
I heard
Oh, I'm
you
sorry, I
say-
flustered you. Okay.
You want to talk about fantasy hockey all of a sudden?
Yeah.
Or
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just, you know what? It's been a long day, so I'm just trying to.
No, it's all fun. So it sounds like you're saying that the plan is for LB to back up Hellebuck.
Yeah.
That you're also open to listening, to seeing what's out there as well.
You have to as a manager. That's your job.
And so, same with respect to Scheifele, where you're prepared for him to be on the roster, but you're open to sort of seeing what happens there.
But I think they would create big holes in our organization, and as we feel moving forward here. So, again, you're always going to listen. I think that's incumbent upon a manager. But there's certain parameters that have to be followed because again, they are important parts of our organization, and there will be conversations that are had with both of their camps at some point in time. What they lead to or not remains to be seen. But from our standpoint, we're certainly open to it, and like I say, that I'm not sure if you're here or not. Like Helly, was fully made apprised that we're signing LB when LB made his decision, and he was excited about it.
Part two, hopefully more thoughtful, less repetition for you. Just in terms of how you've characterized the cap, more likely to go up next year than this year. And I'm thinking from, using Hellebuck and Scheifele as examples, I imagine that the types of extensions that they might be able to get with the cap increase would be more than here and now and today. And just philosophically.
Well, philosophically, sure. There's only so much money in the system, and I haven't really studied any of the deals that went down today. We've been living in our own little cocoon, trying to do the business that we've been trying to do because we were only shopping in certain markets. So I couldn't tell you, wrap my head around what went on today or not today with other deals or money or the like. But again, the cap, as the MOU has stipulated, it's gone up. It's $1 million, and assuming that the escrow is paid back to the requisite levels, then I believe there's mechanisms in there that would push the cap up a certain percentage, and certainly it'll be a welcome kind of relief of pressure on the system. But the funny thing happens along the way when everyone thinks the cap's going up. Everybody wants that piece of the cap. So, depending on each organization, there's guys that are going to be doing extensions this year. When I talk to different managers, they don't even want to talk about, big trades because they got to take care of their own stuff. And that's going to eat up whatever, cap is proposed to expand before. So it's a tricky balance. There's only so much money in the system, and days like today, free agency days suck a lot out of it. Awesome, thanks. He'll be here. I don't know that he'll skate yet, but he's at the point of just about skating. So I guess we'll see maybe how the medicals go. Maybe he'll take some twirls on his own or whatever. But he should be here, and I anticipate all the players that we drafted this last year, yeah. Brown's the only one because he's got to go to. I think Denver does something different where their players have to be in school at a certain time or whatever.
Someone like Rucker, he can attend. It's only one. They can attend like an NCAA can attend one of these.
No, they can attend. It's just it's on their own expenses.
Kevin, just going back to the philosophical, about. I mean, you drafted a guy like Zach Naring, and I don't know. Maybe it's just coincidence that he's here, but my guess is it's not, because he has Manitoba roots, and just the way that you want to draft guys and even want to get guys that want to be here instead of potentially a guy like Pierre-Luc Dubois, who it ended up not being the case that he wanted to be here. But how do you? Are you looking actively to kind of shift how you kind of recruit?
No,
players
like
way?
it's not something where you're sitting at the table and saying, okay, he's from what. Now it is something that when you build your list and you put it, you have no, like, obviously we drafted him in the 3rd round, so you have no clue what falls in front of you. He could have been taken in the 2nd round. You don't even have that option. So again, you follow your list, and guys are obviously passionate about different guys or different things. But again, it's one of those things where you do follow yours. In some years, things fall to you where the passport is European or Finland or Quebec League, whatever, USHL. I think you look at all those things. But one thing though that has been still true to fold here is that we've had good success with the players that we draft in keeping them, retaining them, wanting to be here. Obviously, PLD was drafted by a different organization, and we made the trade, and we wish them all the best. It's everyone has has their choices, but we've got a pretty good track record of guys that we've drafted and have been Jets for a long period of time.
LB clean bill of health after being hurt?
Well, he's cleared. He's I don't know that he's actually skating yet. Our trainers had some conversations with him today. He feels good. He's got he's full training. I don't know that he's been back on the ice, but quite honestly, obviously they only finished a couple of weeks ago. He had indicated that in a pinch situation he probably could have been ready to go, but that wasn't necessary for him at that time, and so everything should be good with him.
And just how important was it to get someone like him that can reduce the workload for Connor? Obviously, we know he loves to play, but he's had probably one of the biggest workloads of any goalie in the last 8 years here.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. I don't know that Flats will have a specific chart plan yet, but obviously LB is someone that can play more games, and hopefully we will benefit from that. I think we don't have as many back-to-backs situations this year in our schedule, so we'll see how that that plays out as well. And obviously Flats is very familiar with them, and Bones and Arnie and Lau we'll get to know him like they'll get to know all the other guys, and LB is he's a great guy, and shook his hand after he beat us, and again, it's exciting to have him back in the organization. Thanks.